children that Kibaki forced to go to school. Watoto wasome. And if your child didn't go to school, the parents was, what's going on? Supposed to be in school, eh? And they didn't have to pay. And they did read. And they were exposed. Eh? These are people who knew nothing about Moi. So they were raised to read and to think. And some of the books they read, if they tell you, you can see they are books that made them what? Think. And so they grew up that way. And then when they were going to high school, digital age, these are the people who became digital. And so they became savvy on this. And one of the big things about Uhuru's presidency, he emphasized the digital. Move away from analogs, some of us. But they become digital. And when they become digital, they know the social media, they are savvy, they know it. Even today, if I have a problem, I know who to ask. It's one of those who don't know what to do.
Yes.
So the times changed. It is not possible to restrict the acquisition of knowledge, general knowledge. I remember there was a time when it was almost illegal to own a fax machine.
What?
Yes.
Well, there's somebody who doesn't know what that is.
This is a dinosaur now,
Yeah.
But at the time, it looked like a very modern thing. You can get information from wherever through the telephone, very quickly, and it's printed.
Yeah.
And that went against some thinking in the official circles of restricting the amount of knowledge that people have. Because if you can get that information before the government censor gets it, then you are bad. And Kenya as a country in the region, the East Africa community, I think it was the last to allow mobile telephones. So we had that funny, awkward ministers going to Tanzania and then having to borrow telephones from the mobile. So there is that element. So the young people we see did get a good basic education.
Okay.
Apart from reading, they learned how to think. Because some of the things they read and they enjoyed, in fact, like that story about the Butere girls. Well, you look at it, what are they saying? They read something and they are thinking. So they try to act what they have read. Last year, when they acted, it was a shock to the to the establishment. Total shock. It scared the establishment. And of course, people are used to the old type of demonstrations. And what's the old type of demonstration? People run around, throw a few stones here and there, and break this and that, and they shout. And then it stops. But they came out with a different agenda. And they said they were not demonstrating because somebody is claiming his votes were stolen or something like that. Because there is something wrong in the country.
And they understand it.
And they understand it. And that comes because they are thinking, which is a very good thing itself. So yes, there seems to be a contradiction and say that there is not as much intellectual production at the universities as there used to be. And in part because of the dynamics. But there's still enough of that little thing that makes people think. And the youth are thinking. And they're asking questions. And it's not enough to tell them it used to be bad during Moi's day. Don't tell them that. They are not used to it. They can't even remember Kibaki in the first place. So all they know is that things are wrong. And if they are wrong, you ask questions. And if there are no questions being answered, then you continue asking more.
Okay, let's take a break at this point and come back. And then the question is, the questions being asked, the answers that are being given by the leadership of today, even as late as of yesterday. We heard the president say a number of things. We'll come back and we'll discuss that when we come back from this. Political analyst, historian, Professor Mashari Monene is in the studio with us this morning, and we're looking at the state of the nation through a historical perspective. What should be the current direction in which the country should be going? And then I have to ask you at this point, are you feeling unwell? Do not search for your symptoms. Find a trusted healthcare.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This month on Star Times, and the drama never lets up. Loyalty is tested in a war for power on Gangs of Manila. When blood and truth collide, truth tests loyalty. Welcome to Sagrado. Watch Gigi's ruthless quest for justice in beautiful revenge. Experience the epic love story of Rama and Sita in Ramayan. Two sisters, one destiny. Together, they are unstoppable on Divya Drishti. Renew your subscription for 2 months on your current bouquet and we'll upgrade you to the next high bouquet absolutely free for 2 months. Don't miss a single heartbeat. Stream all your favorite channels and shows on Star Times on Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
We know that we are not perfect as a country. We know that we still have a long way to go in all spheres of life. There are still reforms that we must implement. One of them is the police reforms. And we are not supporting police excesses. But if there is a problem with the police and that has been investigated, there is killing and it has been investigated, the culprits are already arrested, they are already charged in court and being prosecuted. What else do you want the government to do?
Posted yesterday? Still no calls? Your brand deserves more than silence. Get seen, get sales, get into hashtag Tukosoko. Just 6K puts your biz in front of 5 million people in just 2 days. Ads on Standard Digital, traffic, visibility, results. Tukosoko. Call or WhatsApp 0704 565545. Let's sell something. Your hustle, our platform, we've got you.
And all my life you have been so good.
4 great urban, local, and international gospel music videos, exclusive interviews with your favorite artists and Christian creatives, gospel news from around the globe, voices from across our nation on Street Vibes. And because we believe in freshness, new music from uprising gospel ministers, and not forgetting our top 5 countdown. Catch Gospel Full 100 every Sunday from 7 to 9, only on your #1 entertainment station, KTN. Remember, nothing more, nothing less. We keep it Gospel Full 100.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Done ahead, and things will not be any better. Who is serious and thinks properly. Because there's an attitude issue here. Unfortunately for the president, from what we hear, he doesn't listen to advice very well. From what we hear, I don't know for sure because I've never interacted with him. But he's not the only one who is guilty of that.
Okay.
That we know. So it's an attitude thing. I think we've got our policy orientation wrongly. And that comes from having incompetent people in positions. If you have an incompetent person making policy, you can be sure that policy will be no good. And that's what has been happening. I think the president, he still has 2 years to reorganize himself. He has to come down to earth and stop living in the sky. I believe he's genuine in what he's saying because there is some sort of a religious conviction in his, although he's wrong. What do we have? productivity has gone down. Wealth production
In the country.
in the country. We understand about more than 30 or so international investors have left Nairobi, have left Kenya, and they've gone to neighboring countries. Those are thousands of jobs that you can, and that's income.
Yes.
The taxes have shot up, yet revenue collection is low. And why is that the case? It's because the economy is not doing very well. And if the economy was to expand by emphasizing local production, there's no reason why we should be importing so many things that can be easily manufactured here. But we have an appetite for importing things because there is. And we see the example from the top of that sort of thing. So if the production of basic foods was to remain in Kenya, those are jobs, but we are importing food. We're importing small things like eggs, even carrots. So you know, why is that? So the emphasis is wrong. So you should be thinking of how to increase production of even the small people, and you don't increase the production by overtaxing them into poverty, which is what has been going on. So that's one area you can look into, increase budgeting is also a problem. So what do we have in budgeting when you look at it? We start with dreams of what we want, and then we worry about where to get the money. So there is a disconnect between the actual budget and actually the dreams are taken care of first before the hard facts. So you have education is underfunded, health is underfunded. The basic things that make people happy are not.
Or that they need, the basic things that they actually
basic needs
need.
are not. Yeah, they're not. But I understand the hospitality budget is very high in some places. So the chai and mandazi budget, that one is there. And you get other people, all these helicopters, we see people riding in, and we understand they are now personal property. How some people have enough money to buy helicopters, not to mention fleets of petrol guzzlers. You know, they show off these conspicuous consumption. It's very evident, especially among those who sometimes may be described as what, the Rutocrats, and they have, they show off. And some of them, their mouths are toxic. They say things that really dishearten. There was a lady from Wajir who repeated something that somebody else had said. We are going to steal the votes. We are going to. Wait a minute, what are you talking about? Anyone listen to this? Say, wait a minute. We are in a mess. If this is somebody who is in parliament, and she's not the first to come up with say that how they are going to rig. And how some are talking about, let's change the constitution to remove the 2-term limits, which Moi imposed. You know, Moi is the one who imposed the 2-term limits when he thought he might lose the election. So he did. But it was a good thing. And now some people are saying, let's remove this one so that some people can be there for as long as Moi was or more. They are disheartening. And people say, well, we have a problem. And it's an attitude thing from the top. So if somebody was to come that thinks more seriously about the country than creating a legacy of some kind, then it would happen. I cannot say who it is because it might be a disaster, but it can be done. And the best example you can say, Kibaki did it.
He did it. In this country.
He did it.
Prof, Is it earlier on you talked about our mental, our attitudes, and you're saying these are things from the top, and you're looking at the crop of leaders we have, and some of the things like you're saying, their mouths when they speak, some of the things that are coming out of their mouths. But is it also in the way we have been cultured around our politics? And I say this because every 5 years, Kenyans are driven to a place where you have hopes, you have aspirations, and you are told this is what we will do when we take over. So you're taking somebody on a tide, on a high tide, and you give people hope, and then immediately government is formed, everything nosedives. And then again, we go through another cycle. Right now, we are in the middle of that. There's a group that is saying, look, when you give us this thing, this is what we are going to do. And the president yesterday was saying, guys, give me time. Why are you pushing me? The things I promised I will do, I'll still do them. And he's almost trying to endear himself back to the people's hearts. My question is, how is it our style of politics we need to change from the point of how somebody is actually campaigning to the point of election? Because somebody said, how many millions does an MCA need to run a campaign? How many millions? 50 million for an MP to run a campaign, for example. Where is that person getting that 50 million? They're either taking loans or borrowing from friends. Immediately they're elected, what then do we expect them to do? They have to recoup back the money that they spent with interest. And then the moment you're exposed to those huge amounts of money, therein comes greed. And so you look at the patterns of you look at the dailies today, every story, there is a money factor in every story.
And a big one.
The Auditor General every week is giving figures of how much money we are losing, how much is unaccounted for. And we are almost becoming numb to these huge figures because a few years back, when you talked about $1 million, that was a lot of money.
You'll be taken aback.
Yes. Today, we talk about
when 1,000 was a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. Now you talk about 100+ billion lost. And that figure doesn't seem to move us. We've become numb because every time the numbers keep going up. Where is the problem? Is it just individuals? Because even this next crop of leaders who say, we are going to do this, they're not necessarily clean.
No, they're not. So there need to be serious change, attitude change. One of the positive developments is that, particularly the youth, they're asking questions. And they're not very much impressed. Although we noted their attempt to lure them with some fancy vehicles and to see whether they toe the line. But the encouraging part is the determination to continue asking questions. And they are really not interested in these people's big money. Some of them have a little money of their own. So the money is not the issue. But the mentality, the bad policies, because that's what they are. And when the people are suffering, they notice the suffering is across the country. And therefore they are concerned with who is responsible for this. We know right now some MPs, despite the amount of money they have, will not see the parliament again. That one we know, because people are fed up. And if people are fed up, then you know that's a good sign, that the money will not be the issue. Yes, the money is always a factor. And sometimes when I advise, if anybody listens to advice, if you have 50 million, 30 or 10 million to waste, go into it. Because you can lose. But then your lifestyle should not change.
If you
because
do.
So if you are going to go up crazy, and we've seen some people looking crazy because they lost, don't do it. But if you think you can, okay, go ahead. But we have also seen people spending money and losing to people who did not spend what?
Money.
Because there is also that ability to measure. The public is not that stupid, usually. Because they vote for the person they think is best for them at the time. They may be wrong. And sometimes, there is this thing that people keep on talking about. oh, our voting, is always tribal. That's nonsense. There's an element of it, but it is nonsense. Because deep down, when people go to vote, they vote for the best candidate they think is the best at the time.
Okay.
And the best examples I usually give is the way Kanu won in 1961 and 1963 against Kadu. What was Kadu created for? To gang up, so-called 42 against 2. That's what it was. And logically, there's no way 2 can defeat 42. Logically. Yet it happened. And the question becomes, how did it happen? For the simple reason that the voters are more intelligent than their leaders. So they know who is supposedly looking after their interest and the one who is selling out. At that time, Kadu was portrayed or appeared to be selling out to the settlers and the British. That's what voters say, no, we don't want you. Yet, the leaders kept on telling them this. So what happened? We have other instances. In the last election in which Ruto won, Uhuru Kenyatta supported Raila. And there was an assumption because he had told people to vote this way, they will. They didn't. So you ask them, why is it that they refuse to vote that way? And then you find the reasons are likely to be in Uhuru's administration itself. They were angry with what might have happened during the period. And thereby, Ruto gave him credit for looking as if he's a better option. He did look like a better option.
He was the victim at the time.
Yeah, then he was
the victim.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job of
and the narrative then was it's hustlers versus dynasties.
And the dynasties were to blame for what had happened.
And you see what happened during the COVID time. And Uhuru was blamed for it. There were demolitions of houses in some of these areas.
Yes.
And people are crying at night. Uhuru, what's going on? And it appeared as if they were not listened to. It made a lot of people very angry. And they blamed Uhuru for it. Then you have the demolitions of businesses in Kikombanya Makema. Things happened. And who was blamed for it? Uhuru. And he did not have a good answer. And then when people raise questions, when he starts saying that Ruto is not a good man, they say, what happened? You told us he was a very good man. And so you are the one who said kumi kumi, So what happened? And he had no answers. And this fellow playing a victim, he was clever. Complaints started within Uhuru's first term. And some people complain. So it was Ruto, I remember he went to the people and said, don't complain. Uhuru wants to be re-elected. So he's doing some things that... and people understood. They said, okay, you see what we do. So if there is to be blames, look at what happened in Uhuru in order for Ruto to exploit. And he did a pretty good job of exploiting that.
Is it now working also in reverse? Because now Ruto is president.
Yes.
His former deputy has gone around the country. He's currently in the United States doing exactly the same thing that he did when he was deputy to Uhuru.
I think that's why I think Watangula, if he's quoted right, and I think he was, saying he advised Ruto not to do what he did, impeaching Gachagua. Says an epic blunder of monumental proportions. Now, and it is true, because the whole impeachment saga was useless. It was uncalled for, but it's that desire to assert authority, power. It was Boss Shalai who told us, boss, you told us to kick the guy out.
We're following orders.
So we did. And initially he had refused, he had denied, but it was ego thing. Kicking out Gachagua helped Gachagua in a very big way. Because from the minute he was sworn in as deputy president, which he blundered in the swearing, anyway, he had wanted very much to be considered as the leader of the mountain. He wanted people to follow him. And they were not. Because his past record was also questionable. And so being kicked out was a blessing to him. And instead of staying politically dead, he resurrected him. And he's doing a pretty good job of it. And of gaining popularity. So he's a good mobilizer. But I think he'll be far-fetched to imagine that he can become president after Ruto.
As with anything, when you're looking towards a solution, that you have to look at different formula. You try this one, if it fails, you go on to another one. You try another one, you add a little bit of something here, you remove the other thing. How do you know who an individual is who is right and ripe for leadership beyond intention? How will you know that someone's intent is not or is to lead the country and actually do it right? That along the line you will not see that they may deviate from that which they told you they would do. Do we have historical examples? And then maybe pointing towards the present, whereby this is what somebody said they were going to do, and they did it.
They did it. Well, I think looking at somebody's historical record would help. And the circumstances under which somebody operated. And people who have shown ability to deal with crises in a positive way, then that's a good sign. And there are a few people who have shown that they can deal with crises in a positive way. They're not very many, but they are there. And in times of hardship, somebody comes up and emerges, and people say, here he is, that's the one. Sometimes I like talking about Moi Kibaki. See, Moi Kibaki was never number one to anyone, or maybe except Udaya. But he was always number two to almost everybody. So when all the number ones cancelled each other, who remained there?
Good.
And his record was that people could see, we know this guy. He's a deep thinker from the time he was an assistant minister. He helped Mboya to craft the session paper number 10. And if you look at Vision 2030, it's an update of session paper.
Number 10.
He's a deep thinker, long-term thinker. People knew that, even when, they knew him. So I remember one friend of mine, when Moliro died. He was a Moliro guy, And then he says, now whom do we have? Then he says, Kibaki. And that's why I got the idea. Kibaki was always number two. If you can't have the one you want, who is next? Kibaki. And people identified Kibaki. A long time. In 2002, Kibaki had already won. 6 months earlier, people knew. And his team with Ngilu and Wamalwa, they had created, they were winning. When Moi decided to play a game on Raila by appointing Uhuru, the game was already done. What Raila did, and this is credit to his political genius, was to jump on the winning side and then make it look as if he's the one.
It's like Kibaki Tosha.
Yeah. He dumped Nyachai, who had been paying for his expenses. The same day, he had an MOU with Nyachai. And Nyachai was furious, given all the money he had spent on rail. And then the guy jumped. But the reason he did that, good political sense. He could have been a candidate and lose like himself and father before. He could have supported Uhuru, which was not acceptable. He could support Nyachai, but Nyachai was going nowhere. It was very clear. So join the winning side and make it appear as if you are the one.
Do you think he's currently a political genius still?
Well, I think he'll be a candidate.
Raila?
Yes.
Not
Not so much to win. but to create a bargaining chip, because he's very good at that. The last election was his to win or to lose, and he chose to lose. Oh, people were celebrating before they had even voted. And you say, now, why are you celebrating? You have not voted. See, we are told that about 700,000 or 800,000 people failed to vote in his area, and they were celebrating. And he lost by only 200. So, but his the record is that he loses, then he makes good capital out of it.
So at the end of the day, he doesn't lose either way.
No. He benefits materially and in other ways without responsibility.
Well, there's a lot to watch and a lot to see opening up in time. And at the end of the day, that the people will make a decision around, what they see. And looking into some of those insights, great to always share them and to then be able to see which direction truly things are going in. Professor Macharia Monene has been our guest this hour. Thank you for joining us this morning in the Situation
pleasure.
Room.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning at 8 a.m.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.